Wondering what life is really like on Canada's wild and crazy West Coast? This podcast is all about the people, the places, and Vancouver Island time. Together, we'll explore this island paradise, a combination of ocean, city, and country living. We'll meet the fabulous locals, such as the Fudge Fairy and the Chicken Lady, who have chosen Victoria and Vancouver Island as their home. And we'll learn what makes this place unique and special to those who live here. And now, your host of Vancouver Island Time, Jane Johnston.
Hi, this is Jane Johnston with Vancouver Island Time. I'm here with Elizabeth Milder, and she lives in the Oakland area. We're going to learn about what's exciting about Elizabeth and this area, what she does for a living. She is the Queen of Expansion, is that right?
Yeah, I'm the Queen.
So stay tuned, and it's going to be a very interesting interview. Oaklands is just north of downtown Victoria. It's just off Hillside. It's a very popular area. It's just increased in value significantly in the last few years. So if you want to stay tuned. And then the second half of the show, we'll talk about Elizabeth and what she does with her work with the Queen of Expansion. She's recently come to my notice as a powerhouse woman. She knows how to take advantage of networking, and we're working together with the Chamber of Commerce as well as eWomen Network. So stay tuned, and we'll chat with you soon. Hi, everybody. It's Jane Johnston with Vancouver Island Time. I'm here with Elizabeth Milder, and we are going to be talking about the Oaklands area as well as her business, Queen of Expansion. So tell me about the Oaklands area. Where is it, and how did it come to your notice?
Well, it's interesting, actually. The house that we're in now used to be my partner's family home. So it was actually the house that his mother grew up in. And so we bought the property from his grandparents and did a pretty major renovation, put in a suite, all that kind of stuff. And so that was the original connection. There's a lot of like familial history with the Oaklands area. The Ryan Street Hill here being, where the family tobogganed down in the winters and all this kind of stuff. And but what drew Cole and I to the area, Cole being my partner, is just how vibrant it is. Being, for instance, so close to a school, literally I could throw a rock at Oaklands Elementary, and also Fernwood Village. It's just really it has that very neighborhood vibe. We've got a couple of businesses that we frequent in the village where, we're known by name because we spend enough time there. And that's something that really appeals to both of us, having that connected community feel. In addition, even to the work that the Fernwood NRG does, Neighborhood Resource Group, I believe is what the acronym stands for. But they do a lot of work in supporting the community, providing everything down to childcare, assisted childcare.
There's also a school, just like an innovative school of learning right on the corner. And I noticed right across the street from the school is a little park, and they have like intro to baseball. It just seems very, very community oriented. You are on top of the hill, which is nice because you have sort of the long view here. But down at the bottom there is very flat, which is great for families, anybody wanting to ride their bikes or whatever to and from the park as a kid. That's important, I found anyway, with my kids, because we lived on a hill. So what about stores and stuff around here? Where do you go for shopping?
Well, that's another awesome thing about it, being so close to Hillside. Literally, I can walk to Hillside. There's actually a bunch of trails and stuff too that go through that get you over to the mall. So that's the biggest thing really for us, is heading over to Thrifty's there. But now, of course, that mall is expanded, there's so much there. But then even Quadra, we're in such a perfect location, I feel, here, because there's Quadra Village that has Fairways, which we actually shop at a lot. There's Thrifty's and the mall there. The village now, the village has become so vibrant, even just we've owned this property now for about 4 years. In the 4 years since we moved, they've really expanded. There's new restaurants. Even there's the new Fernwood pizza place. The Parsonage Cafe has recently opened a second location. I don't know if you're familiar with Parsonage, but I absolutely love that cafe, and I'm thrilled that they've opened a second location in the village. Sorry, and I totally forget what your question was.
That's okay. Well, I was just, people probably won't know who are not from here. So Fairways is a locally owned grocery store, and they have a lot of ethnic foods. They're owned by an Asian family in the area. And they have maybe 5 or 6 stores, I think, from here all the way to Souk. And then Thrifty's is another formerly locally island-owned store, which has now been taken over by Sobeys, but it still has kind of that... Yeah. And they're known for hiring people with disabilities and stuff like that. So both really nice places to shop for different reasons. And Hillside Mall. So I find a bit like it's kind of the tail wagging the dog in different parts of the city where malls are developing. Like even on the West Shore Mall developed, and then the West Shore developed. So you're talking about all the development going along. Tell me about Quadra Village, because that's kind of an unknown quantity. It was kind of a rough area. They have a beautiful cafe in there. What about what else? Like, do you have any restaurants you like to eat down there?
Oh, my all-time favorite is Stage Wine Bar, and that's one of those places where I was saying we're known by name. We know a couple of the bartenders now because we go and it's one of those places too where you can go there for dinner. They have phenomenal food, tapa style. Really healthy options as well, gluten-free. So it kind of fits the bill for everyone. But the other nice thing too is it's also very casual. So you can go in, just sit at the bar, shoot the shit with Stephen as one of the bartenders, have a glass of wine. They have a phenomenal wine selection, which is really important to me. So yeah, it's awesome. And even the Fernwood Inn, it's amazing actually. The Fernwood Inn has phenomenal food. It really fits into the Victoria foodie scene.
Yeah. Our very first interview was with Leslie Hopkins at the Fernwood Inn. Yeah, we saw the bubble guy drinking at the bar in the middle of the day. Anyway, it is an awesome place. What about it? Like, are you involved in your community here? What do you guys do for fun? What do you do for recreation here?
Well, I'd say within the community, usually in the summertime, there's a couple of families that actually host outdoor, outdoor movies. So we'll get the neighborhood together, and they usually just put up like a sheet on the side of there's a couple of houses in particular that do this to watch movies after dark. So that's a lot of fun. Usually, as I mentioned with the Ryan Street Hill here, anytime we get any snow, which has been sparse this year, but last year it was really quite funny. All the kids that would come to the hill and go tobogganing down, and Cole and I often, we have a little kind of rock outcropping in the front of the house, so we'll go out there with hot chocolate and that kind of thing and
serve the kids.
Yeah, we've done that, and sometimes they'll sit on that rock and watch everything that's going on. It's the perfect vantage point. So
it's like Norman Rockwell in Victoria. That is very cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then what about like working out or running clubs or anything like that?
Yeah, there's actually a lot. There's the running store. Now, it used to be called Peninsula, and that's how I've always known it. But I think now it's the Running Room over at Shelburne there. So they host running clubs. And it's funny that you should ask that, because that's something that Cole and I actually recently have gotten into. As far as working out, I mean, there's the community center. Oh my God, the Cedar Hill Rec Center.
Yeah, and there's a golf course there. So you're within walking distance to a golf course.
Oh, within walking distance, yeah. And often what we do is we'll actually run and then run around the chip trail there.
It's 2.5 kilometers, by the way. I used to run the Times Colonist 10K clinics there every Sunday morning. So, yeah.
Yeah, and what else?
You can work out there too.
You can.
And
yeah.
don't they have like racket sports? Is there squash there?
You know what? I'm not sure because I've never looked into that, but it's a fairly large community center, so I wouldn't be surprised. I know they do a bunch of like different craft type like courses out of there. So artsy stuff. They've done cooking classes, that kind of thing. And it's very vibrant as well. I'm actually a part of Toastmasters. So I go on early on Thursday mornings, but so there's a lot that's happening out of there kind of on a regular day-to-day basis too, outside of just going and working out. Yeah. What else?
Do you ever go to the ocean from here? Like, you're not far from UVic and Cadbro Bay. And so one of the cool things about Victoria is the way it's shaped. It's kind of almost semicircular, so you can head out to the ocean from anywhere. You have a little dog. Where do you take your dog for a walk?
Yeah, anywhere in the area, really. The other small kind of village is Haltane Corners, which is not far from here. It's a couple of blocks. So usually between Fernwood Village and Haltane, there's the coffee shop there called Coffee, which is quite phenomenal. There's a little market and stuff there as well. So we're usually walking kind of more in the neighborhood. But we're not a far drive, and we'll often take her to like Dallas, or even Cedar Hill, because we also have a big dog. You only saw the small one, but, yeah. And really that is actually one of the all-time best things about this area is its proximity to so many things, including downtown. So on the one hand, we're close enough to downtown that, you know, often we'll just cab because, of course, parking downtown now is becoming a real.
Well, I'm from Toronto originally, so it's nothing. Yeah. Actually, we were looking at a house on Mount Stephen yesterday, which is just around the corner from here. Absolutely fabulous house. And anywhere else in the city, it would be gone. It's listed at 1.1 million. Stunning lot and beautifully upgraded house, character home. I've noticed there's a lot of character homes in the area, like down Graham and Mount Stephen, and along Haltane, there are sort of less expensive ones. The more expensive ones are on top of the hill. I noticed that. And it looks like there's like an old house down the way that looks like to be the original house, and it's set back from the road.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. And the really cool thing, too, that I should mention just next to our property here, this is actually a Gary Oak grove. So it's actually protected. Nothing will ever be developed there. And it's just cool having those here. Most people don't realize actually what a gift it is having those Gary Oaks. We're like the only place in the world where they grow. Yeah. So it's pretty amazing. And kind of I know a lot of people hate the deer here in Victoria, but we have a couple that hang out in our backyard. Our backyard right now is not developed, so they've found a couple of spots to hang out there, and they constantly eat all my flowers and everything. But it's cool seeing them, you know, and all the raccoons and everything too.
My husband just planted a whole bunch of tulips, which won't come up till next spring. I bought the bulbs, and I was planning on planting them in our backyard, and I was going to plant them in a heart. And and he decided he would plant them as just do it, right? And he planted them all in the front yard. And I'm like, oh, they're like salad for the deer. They love them. Yeah. Anyway, we have a lot of Gary Oaks around our property as well. I find we have a big dog too, and she just sits out the window, watches all the deer, and yeah. So it feels like, Gary Oaks are protected, true. So are arbutus. They're also unique to this area on the West Coast.
In the backyard. Sorry.
Yeah, they're beautiful. My kids call them the naked lady trees. Well, I'll take a picture so you guys can see what they look like. They're just absolutely stunning. Okay, well, is there anything else you want to highlight about Oaklands area?
Well, I mean, there's really I can't say enough about the area, and I guess what will speak most to that is the fact that you guys will learn this, but I'm a real estate investor, and that's actually Fernwood is the area that we invest most in. We've got 11 units at this point, and so 11 units and 4 properties, and we only have one other property that's actually in Saanich. But we just love the area so much because of the value, obviously, of the properties. Their appreciation even over the last few years, as it has been all over Victoria, but that's been really good. And the rental value, Fernwood is a very desirable area, Oaklands even more so. So in terms of renting, getting good tenants, but then also getting good rent, it's good.
Yeah, so I've noticed it's only happened in the last 10 years. So when I first did my first market analysis in this area, I would say properties have doubled since then, since 2006. So for sure. Yeah, great area, family oriented. One of the first houses I sold in the area was on Victor, which is right around the corner. Beautiful. The former mayor of Victoria lives on Victor. And very centrally located. All right, so we're going to take a break and we'll be back and we're going to learn all about Elizabeth and what she does with real estate investing and why you need to connect with her. All right, take care.
Vancouver Island Time is brought to you by the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun, Victoria, where we bring local expertise and global presence to your property.
All right, we're back with Elizabeth Mulder. And she is known as the Queen of Expansion. And she and I were introduced to one another last year. But tell me more about yourself. Like, why have you started? You started your own podcast. Mm-hmm. So why did you start that? And what's your purpose? What's your passion?
Well, my passion is definitely real estate. And it's funny how the Queens of Expansion, how that whole thing came about. I went last year to a kind of entrepreneurial, inspirational conference called Thrive Connect, and
we were in the same hotel at the same time,
crazy.
Actually.
Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, so this was an event that my partner and I went to actually last October, and at that event, one of the messages that resonated the most with me, or I guess that I took away, really, was this idea of taking action and not being overly concerned with perfecting a thing before you just start moving.
Just do it.
Yeah, just do it, exactly. So there were a number of conversations that happened that weekend that culminated actually in a final conversation that left myself and the woman that I was speaking to crying, and it was a heart, it was a good cry. But we were basically just talking about the struggle that we face in being in real estate, which is, of course, male-dominated. So I'm sure you've got stories.
In building.
Yeah. It's just across the board. And even now, being an active real estate investor, going to real estate events, whether it's just networking events or educational things, whatever, you necessarily end up in a room full of, probably 80 to 85% men. And what this woman was telling me is the struggle that she had faced in getting started in real estate and the struggle that she was currently in. And we connected on that, and I had talked to her about kind of my experience with real estate investing. And at the end of that conversation, it just made me realize that women need a platform to talk about these things. So,
do you know what's funny? So I just recently posted something on Facebook about men and women, and I got a bit of a backlash from a guy. And I'm like, as a single white guy, you have no idea, honestly, what it's like. You have no idea. And I was saying I was at a golfing tournament last week, and we were all hitting balls, right? And somebody sent me a derogatory text because I hit the ball well. And I'm a woman. It was said, that's not a very feminine way to hit the ball.
What?
Yeah. And so you just wonder, like, you, as men, I think they don't even know that they're doing it, quite honestly, right? And I don't think it's meant to be offensive. It just is, there's a club, men are a part of it, and women are trying to break into it, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it can be really intimidating. That's the biggest thing, and that was really the context of that conversation, was like how you manage that intimidation. What she had seen of me, because we had various opportunities to speak, and I'm somewhat of a, I guess, a loudmouth. I have an easy time talking and sharing, and that was kind of what drew her and what kind of sparked this conversation. So anyways, it just, I really kind of realized that there was a need for that. And Queens of Expansion has taken a couple of turns. I initially was really worried about talking about my real estate side, because I felt, one, I didn't want anyone to think that I was trying to sell anything. And to be honest, I have some, I guess, confidence issues around that too, because I'm not doing this alone, and I never want to seem like I'm being inauthentic talking about myself as a real estate investor when I haven't achieved this on my own. I have a partner that has been instrumental.
Right. Well, and I think, first of all, I don't think anyone would think. It's so funny how we perceive ourselves. I feel the same way. Like, working in real estate, I'm always striving, but I think it's just because maybe your personality is that you're driven. Yeah. And my expectations are necessarily high, and I think that sometimes comes into play. And, we are our own worst critics. It's totally true. And so you're always going to blow anything out of proportion and feel that it's worse than really it is. So that's something that I've been fortunate, having been a part of this group with Thrive and Thrive Connect. It's a mastermind that we're a part of. I've had a lot of really good advice and, some kind of informal mentoring with some people in the group, Legacy Perez being very instrumental. And he basically just asked me this last meeting that we went to. He said, what really is it that you're trying to achieve with Queens of Expansion? What is your vision with that? And I said, really, it started because I wanted to educate women and empower women to invest in real estate, because I, for a long time, was terrified of the prospect. And so I had invested in property with my dad and then again with my partner, but I never felt that it was something that I could do on my own. And knowing what I know now, I absolutely could have.
Well, it doesn't mean that you didn't do the right thing investing with other people. I think it's important to be mentored and learn from them. For me, that's how I got into real estate as well. And I ended up going the other side. So rather than an investor, I'm a realtor, right? Mm-hmm. I thought I would be an investor, but it turns out when you're a realtor, there's lots of disclosure issues and it's actually very difficult. Yeah, we have to be very careful. So I probably would have invested more. So you're probably going to end up further ahead than me financially because the best thing is to buy and hold, which it sounds like you're doing, right?
That is our meat and potatoes, yes. We have done a couple of flips, but in the long run, it just does not make sense for, the risk reward. And that's one of the things that I love so much about real estate. People, I get this all the time. People think we're crazy because some of the projects that we take on and the money that we put into these properties. But at the end of the day, real estate is the only investment where you can really substantially mitigate the risk.
Well, you can also borrow from yourself,
which
is unique to any other investment. And I think Mark Twain said, land doesn't rust. So that's true. We're on an island. We have limited supply. Totally makes sense. We're in the warmest area of Canada. Yeah, we have health benefits. So there are lots of people who come here to live and retire. And military, we have very stable economy. Like, to me, you're making a great decision. The other thing is, if you want to invest, you don't have to just invest in Victoria, right? So you and I talked about that. So there are other markets that you can invest in where you can speculate if you want. It's just that you have to travel. Have you considered that?
We have, and actually part of our path in 2018, we are educating ourselves about other markets, including as far as the States. So we'll see where that goes. The one thing I will say with that is, yes, you have to travel, and we've put things into motion to give us the opportunity to actually utilize connections that we have to learn about markets, so that we can make, really educated decisions when we finally make a decision to invest in another community. So
Yeah, so I think I've connected you with an investment person who actually does that. I went to a seminar of theirs, and what they were talking about, you have like the falling knife. So the falling knife is when the market's going down, and no matter which way, you're going to get cut if you invest. But what they do is they look to see when the economy's just about to turn around. So they have some factors that they determine. So you can be quite scientific about it. But speaking from the perspective of a realtor, I find people come in and they want to know like the big picture and the perspective. And, where are we in terms of where we've been in the past 10 years? What's happening? What do you forecast is happening in the next 3 years? So are you working with realtors in those other cities, or are you working with investment advisors?
We're working with,
or is it a team?
Informally investment advisors, but people that are already active investors. And these are just people that we've become friends with through this mastermind that we're a part of, that have huge investment companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and some realtors, apologies. Yeah. Some realtors as well.
Yeah. I just find it takes a unique person to see the big picture. I find. So, what are some exciting opportunities that you have for people? So you have people you want to invite to your podcast. And what kind of clientele are you looking for that?
Well, the big thing now that when I started Queens of Expansion, I kind of started to touch on this, but I was more focused on entrepreneurs, and now I've really decided to get very specific and speak to people within real estate. So anyone really within that kind of arena. So whether it's realtors, investors, architects. I have a female architect that I'm going to be interviewing coming up, so that's really cool. Really anyone that has any insight to offer in terms of real estate and investing. Yeah.
Okay. And what are your plans within Victoria?
Well, very exciting. We actually have an accepted offer on a property as of a couple of days ago. So this week we'll be going through and doing our due diligence, but fingers crossed, all is well there. And so we'll have our next project on the go here. We are also looking at working with some other investors to develop a property together. So we, our company name is Expansion Properties, and that's for a reason. We are definitely in a mode of expansion, and our intention for 2018 is to, instead of our normal one project for the year, we're planning to have 2, hopefully 3 within 2018, and really, drive the investment piece forward even further.
Cool. All right. So how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook under Expansion Properties, as well as Queens of Expansion. We have an Instagram account as well. You can find information on our real estate investment and development company at expansionproperties.com. Find me on Facebook under Elizabeth Milder.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So if you're interested in learning more about Elizabeth, she'd be happy to hear from you. I want to just thank her for introducing us to Oaklands today and teaching us about who she is and what she does. And I'd like to welcome you to the neighborhood. I'm Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun and host of Vancouver Island Time. We'll chat with you soon. Bye.
Have you ever asked yourself this question? Why is it so hard to make a buck? I know I have. Hi, I'm Sandra Yancey, founder and CEO of eWomen Network. What I have discovered after going from the brink of bankruptcy to running a multi-million-dollar award-winning business is this: you can't build a million-dollar dream hanging around minimum wage mindsets. My mission is 1 million women entrepreneurs generating $1 million in annual revenue. So here's what I've done. I've created the mother of all entrepreneur success programs that you can access online on your time. It's called Monetize Me Now. It's a 7-module online course that is 100% my success formula, covering mindset, mission, management, motivation, marketing, and measure. Come on, take my hand and I'll show you the way to learn to earn flowing revenue for your business. Visit monetizemenow.com for details.